She barged into my lake cabin thinking she could intimidate me, but froze the second she saw who I was meeting with. HOA chaos just turned deadly satisfying. It was a crisp, sunny morning by the lake, the water sparkling under the light and birds chirping in the trees. I was sitting in my cabin reviewing some documents with a guest when I suddenly heard the familiar sound of boots on the porch, fast, aggressive, and demanding. HOA Karen had stormed in, her pastel blazer flapping, face red with fury. "You have no right to be here. I'm enforcing HOA rules and you're in violation," she shouted, waving her clipboard as if it were a weapon. I looked up calmly, glancing at my guest. Their presence alone made Karen pause mid-step. Her eyes widened. Who, who is that?" she stammered, realizing she had underestimated the situation entirely. It wasn't just any visitor. I was meeting with a high-ranking federal official for a matter unrelated to the HOA, and their authority was immediately clear. Karen's voice faltered, her usual bluster disappearing in the face of actual power. She had barged in thinking she could intimidate me, enforce petty rules, and assert control, but the room was entirely out of her league. I calmly stood, gesturing toward the door. "I think it's time you left," I said, voice steady. Karen swallowed hard, her cheeks turning a deeper shade of red. The neighbors who had been watching from a distance could see the tension spike. Phones were already out, recording the entire scene. As she retreated, muttering excuses, the guest and I resumed our discussion, sunlight reflecting off the lake through the cabin windows. Karen's intrusion had completely backfired. What she intended as intimidation became a public display of humiliation. The incident quickly became the talk of the neighborhood. Everyone knew HOA Karen tried to assert her authority over someone out of her league and failed spectacularly. My cabin remained my safe haven, the guest's presence a powerful deterrent to any further HOA attempts. Later, sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee, I reflected on the situation. HOA wars aren't just about rules. They're about knowing your power, preparation, and timing. Karen had walked into a room thinking she could control events, only to realize that authority, experience, and credibility outweigh entitlement every time. By midday, Karen had slunk back to her own property, her threats nullified, and the neighborhood had a new story to share. And me? I smiled quietly, watching the sunlight shimmer across the lake, knowing that some lessons are best learned the hard way and in broad daylight.